some people go toward the light like yourself, whereas Jeffrey Epstein and so many other people of his kind go towards the dark side.
You're 100% right. I've seen it so many times where power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And unfortunately, we live in a world today where a lot of people see themselves as somebody with absolute power. 1,000 years ago, the only people with real absolute power were royalty and whatnot. Today, you have a really big checkbook and you've got connections with the governor and you have, whatever. You end up getting to this point where your moral compass is not affected by any concern that you'll be found out or be taken down, and you remove yourself from consequences. And people get addicted to this level of power and greed and subjugation of other people. Anytime you get to a point where you look at another human being as anything less than an equal, anything less than divine, anything less than is just as good as you. And whether it's because that person doesn't have the same financial ability as me, or that person isn't the same gender as me, or that person doesn't have the same skin color as me, any of those things. When somebody starts going down that road, and this is why pornography is damning as well, is because when you take a woman from that divine feminine to an object and you start objectifying and you start imagining yourself and being able to go, control and fuck anybody you want, whatever it is, you're going down this space of expansion of this arrogance and this ego and this belief that people are below you in some way. And then what happens is they get addicted to the rush of something bigger and something better. I climbed this mountain. Now I'm going to climb a bigger mountain. And that was a bigger rush. And for some of them, they go down healthy adrenaline rush increases and bigger accomplishments like climbing a bigger mountain. But other ones, they go down unhealthy roads like, okay, I'm going to destroy that person's life by, taking away their job and their relationships, whatever else. And then I'm going to destroy that person's life by, creating some trauma in their life as a child or whatever, or a rape situation. And then I'm going to even destroy more. And it's this robbing of energy that is insatiable because they're not creating healthy creation of energy within themselves. And I've seen it a lot. And that's the reason why I was the perfect pick to play that role for the first few years of being that wealthy, well-spoken businessman who wants to flaunt his money around. And then I set up a full fake Facebook page profile and it worked out really well because I had pictures of me with Lamborghinis and Ferraris and jets and yachts and whatever. And these undercover guys would go and show this to the traffickers and they would go, yeah, that's the kind of guy we work with. And they were used to that. And that's why they were able to bring all their children in and we could rescue them all at one time.
The undercurrent of what you just said is humility.
Yeah.
Because if you're truly humble, if you truly review and self-evaluate the archives of your behaviors, your patterns, who you are, the essence of who you are, it's hard to be arrogant. Because whether you believe in God or not, it's the flaws and the imperfections that makes us human. But I know quite a bit of spiritual narcissists, and it's mind-boggling. But of course, for you, it sounds like through grace, through synchronicity, or whatever language you want to use, you went down to the other path. But it's humility at the center that I sense. So given your background as a former hedge fund manager of $40+ billion operations, and now in your full throttle philanthropic work plus movies, what does humility mean to you, Paul?
Well, I'll tell you this. Since you touched on it and brought it up, the first 3 years of doing undercover work, I was passionate about helping the kids, but I wasn't Paul Hutchinson. I was Paul effing Hutchinson, right? And that actually went well with this whole, the traffickers would see me and that, and I was okay. I bought into that same, there were other people that were in this work that had that same arrogance, ego, and they wanted the cameras on them, and I didn't care about the cameras, but I had the best panty dropper story on the planet, and that was this energy that I was in. And some of my operators were such good men, but they were caught up in that same thing. I've got guys like Jimmy and Andy and Jeremy and others that are just, I'm so close with them today because they, about 7 years ago, came to me, and one of them said, Paul, do you trust us? And I said, yeah, we put our lives in line together, right? Undercover. And they said, yeah. Do you like your life right now? And I'm like, oh, I'm Paul F. and Hutchinson. Yeah, I can. They're like, well, you're on your second marriage and it's about to end. There's something going wrong in your personal life and everything else. And I said, yeah, maybe I'll get around to that someday. And they said, if you trust us, why don't you come and join us in this ceremony? I'm like, I had grown up in a member of a very strict religion. I hadn't even drank alcohol, let alone, tried any mind altering anything. And they said, this isn't drugs like what you've been taught. This is something that's going to break down your ego and allow you to see yourself in a different light. And we did a plant medicine guided meditation journey experience. And it was the darkest, most difficult thing that I had ever done. I felt in every cell of my body the pain that my children felt when I cheated on their mom. I could feel the energy of people who I had wronged, and just because of my ego, right? I had parties at my house where I had all of the NBA players in the area. There was like 20 of them there and 150 girls there, right? That was the kind of thing. And most guys think, well, that would be cool. No, it wasn't. I was not acting in total integrity in all the areas of my life. And I could see it and I could feel it. And it broke me down. And I did some mirror work in that space. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I thought, are you really proud of being Paul F. and Hutchinson, right? Is that what you're proud of? What are you really proud of? What's important? What's the direction you need to be heading in your life? And over the next year, in doing a lot of that inner work, I dropped the effing. and I became super humbled. But then I realized that some of the people that I was close to were in that same low vibration energy of massive arrogance and egos, and I couldn't support it anymore. And I had to break ties with some of the organizations I was working with and some of the people, even some of the people that were in this work of child trafficking, of fighting it. I realized for a lot of them, it wasn't about the kids. It was about that same ego that I was tied up in. And from there on, every mission meant so much more because it truly was about the kids. We didn't bring cameras to the missions that I did over the last 5 years, not one, because it wasn't about the cameras. It was about the kids. And that made all the difference.
Thank you for discovering more with us this week. If you enjoyed watching this video, check out the full-length episode at one of the windows that pops up. And as always, see you again in next week's train of Discover More. Thank you for tuning in.